Okay, so as the 2023-2024 season has approached us, we thought it would be a really fun idea to just hop on the mic and discuss who we have for our own player prediction awards, I guess. So MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, these types of awards. Obviously, we're going to have corresponding lists within it, but we thought it would be a good idea to just hop on the mic, have a chat, and see where our differences do lie. But also, I guess it's just fun to just chat these things because it is super early. But at the same time, I feel like it's the season just started. So if there's any time to do it, it's now. But Danko, how are we today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I think it's a good way to chop it up, especially nice and early in the season, only about 4 games in. So I reckon we just get straight into it, and yeah, maybe we'll start at random. I think maybe we save the MVP till last because I think that's the obviously the most prestigious award. So we don't want to go with that one right off the bat. So I mean, we could start with maybe let's go with Rookie of the Year. I think that one's a nice, good one, especially because it's, the fresh-faced players that have come into the league from the 2023 NBA draft. And, yeah, so what better way to start with than with that one? And my Rookie of the Year selection for the 2023-24 season is none other than my good friend, one of my favourite players and one of my favourite rookies coming into this class. As you know, anyone who's watched our videos the last 4 or 5 months, you would know about this debate. But Brandon Miller, I've got him winning Rookie of the Year from the Charlotte Hornets. Had an incredible start to the season thus far for a rookie, averaging about 17 points per game, 6 boards, 2 assists. He's played some solid defense. He's arguably looked like the Hornets' best player out there, with LaMelo Ball probably not playing to the best of his abilities and other guys around him, being a little bit inconsistent. I think Brandon Miller's stepped up. Steve Clifford's shown immense trust and confidence in him from an early stage. He's played, 25, 31, and 35 minutes in his 3 games thus far. And I think, with continuing confidence and I think that, mentality that he does have, that he feels like he can be the best player on the court, I think that's just going to continue to shine through for the rest of the season. And again, the more trust that he gets given from the coaches, his teammates, I think he's going to flourish, and I think those numbers are only going to improve, and I think the efficiency stays there as well. He might have a bit of a slump like all rookies do, but I think, I called it early. I said Brandon Miller was a ready-made NBA player, and his game is perfectly suited to the league, and so far, I think that's proven to be correct. So, that's my vote for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and you did. I remember, because we were making videos pre-draft, even the pre-draft process, and you were on the Brandon Miller train, I guess, extremely early, just because I remember you rated him highly out of Alabama, and we were discussing. I wasn't fully on the Scoot Henderson, I guess, train, but I was between who's the second best player in the class, and I always thought Charlotte, they didn't really need Scoot as well, but I do remember you telling me you convincing me heavily for why Brandon Miller does deserve that to be the second pick in the draft. And, I mean, he looks like the perfect fit long-term for the Charlotte Hornets. So, hey, if you take a look back at the old videos and you read the comments, some of them are really on our case about the whole Brandon Miller Charlotte Hornet fit. But how the tables have turned, I must say, because Scoot is not really looking all too well. And I am a believer in Scoot. I'm sure many of you guys are as well. But shout out to you, Danko, for that one, because, you were there from the start, and look what's happened.
Exactly. I'm gonna ride the train there. Ups and downs. Sorry for his rookie season. All the good moments, the high points, the low points. I'll be there every step of the way. I'm not jumping off this train anytime soon. That's for sure. I'd love to hear your pick, though. I'm very interested to hear who you've got as Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Okay, so I know it's early on in the channel, and I'm not sure all you guys are coming back from the previous videos, but if you did, you would know we've done videos on the Detroit Pistons and how I wasn't really much of a fan about the Azar and Ivy, I guess, fit. I always liked Azar as a prospect, but I didn't really think that would work. However, with that being said, I think Azar Thompson has the potential, and I think he will be my Rookie of the Year choice. He'll be my selection because the guy, from what I've seen, he's in my Like this sounds like a very casual point of view, but I've been watching a lot of him. He's in my fantasy basketball team, and for that reason, I've just been really impressed. I've been watching the Pistons most games. Didn't get to watch him today, but Azar's shot blocking, tremendous. I think in his first game he had like 5 blocks. He had another game he had 3 blocks. His playmaking, terrific. He looks like he can be a secondary playmaker behind a guy like Cade Cunningham and even ahead of a guy like Killian Hayes, who, although that's a name who gets made fun of a lot, he's starting to come into his own a little bit, specifically this season. But yeah, Azar, I mean, he rebounds phenomenally well, gets like 10 to 11 rebounds. He playmakes well, he blocks shots, he plays great defense, and I think if he can add to like that close to 9 points per game mark, I think there's no reason why he can't be Rookie of the Year, because that's a double-double if he continues to do that with like 2 blocks and tremendous defense, and perhaps 4 to 5 assists. I think that would be enough to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call. I mean, the one area obviously where it might hold him back slightly is his shot creation, his ability to obviously, be the high-level scorer in year one. I think, we've seen, he's been pretty inefficient at times, both in the preseason and early on. He had a decent game today in terms of efficiency and obviously, contributing in double figures in points. But I think he does everything else well. He's leading, obviously, the rookies in rebounding, assists, block shots. If you can get into double-digit blocks, scoring, yeah. I think as the season progresses, there's no reason why he can't contend, especially with Wemby's inefficiencies and inconsistencies at times and the early growing pains, that he's been showing thus far in his early stages of his career. And even a guy like Chet Holmgren's a little bit up and down. Some games he scores the ball really well but doesn't rebound. Other games he rebounds well, blocks shots, but then maybe he's not scoring as effectively. So it's a really interesting draft class. I feel like there's a lot of players who are sort of a bit up and down, but that's going to come. I think all of these guys are super talented, and I feel like this draft class, it's like either they'll have a really bad game or they're going to have a game where they break records. That's kind of how I feel this draft class has gone so far. So I'm really excited to see how they progress as the season goes along, when obviously with a little bit more NBA experience and more games under their belt. But I reckon it's going to be a really tight Rookie of the Year race, and a lot tighter than a lot of people make it out to be and are predicting it to be. So, yeah, I think both of those calls that we made in Brandon Miller and Azar Thompson are valid, and I think, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this rookie class, like I said, progresses on throughout the season.
I reckon we will go the route of Sixth Man of the Year. I think this one's probably the hardest award to pick from. It's really difficult because, early on in the season, we don't know who's always going to come off the bench. But for me, it was out of 2 guys. I had either Jaden Ivey from the Pistons or I had Cole Anthony from the Magic, of course. And I'm going in the route of Cole Anthony. I feel like he fits the mold of a Colin Sexton, who's another guy who could be in the running, but he's one of those guys who can just come in the game, score when needed. He can shoot decently from 3. He's a volume scorer. Scores in bunches as well, all 3 levels. I feel like he isn't the best defender, but at least he gets after it. He gets after it on defense. He's knacky. He's loud. He's just that guy who brings a spark off the bench, and I feel like he's already a really good NBA player. Now you put him on the bench for the Magic because you want to develop guys like Anthony Black, Markelle Fultz,
Jalen Suggs.
And there's another name who's just not coming to mind right now. Yeah, Jalen Suggs as well. I feel like it kind of leaves Cole out of the mix, but Cole's still a really good NBA player. He's still really valuable, and I think he perfectly fits the Sixth Man of the Year award because he's one of those guys. He doesn't seem like he minds coming off the bench either. He'll do whatever he needs to do for the team to win. And he just seems like a good teammate. He's a great player, and I think he will be Sixth Man of the Year.
That's based off what we've seen so far during this season. I think that's a pretty fair shout. I think one thing with Cole, again, his sort of form can also be a little bit inconsistent in terms of night in, night out. But so far from what we've seen, he's been productive and he's been an important part to that second unit for the Orlando Magic. So hopefully he can continue that, and it'll definitely be an interesting Sixth Man of the Year race. I thought this one was the toughest one to try and work out, like you mentioned, because obviously we don't know who's going to be playing bench minutes long term, or who someone who started on the bench might move into the starting lineup for whatever reason. So it's a tough one to pick, but I'm kind of going to go a little bit boring, go the obvious route here, and obviously with this guy here, he finished second in the sixth man of the year voting last year behind Malcolm Brogdon, and that was Emmanuel Quickley from the New York Knicks. I feel like, how important he is to that second unit for the Knicks, coming in, being able to score the ball, especially, when the offense is lacking a little bit from that starting unit. He can come in, he can defend pretty well, he's got energy, he can make shots from all three levels, he can get to the rim in transition, from the mid-range, pull-up threes, off-the-dribble threes. I think he's got the complete scoring package. There's potential there that at some point during the season he could, go into the starting lineup for whatever reason, but, I think he's way more effective off the bench, as we saw in that first game against the Boston Celtics, and how potent he was, nearly brought him back single-handedly into that game and caused an early upset against one of the heavily favoured championship contenders in the Celtics. So if he can continue that and, like I said, continue to be that spark plug that the Knicks need him to be, not only will he be important for the Knicks going forward in terms of trying to be a playoff contender, but he'll definitely put himself well and truly in the running for sixth man of the year. So for that reason, Emmanuel Quickley, I know it's a pretty boring and safe pick, but it kind of felt like it was a tough one to gather here. So I thought I'd go IQ.
No, it's a really good pick.
Why not? So we'll move on to the next one anyway. Did you do a coach of the year, or are we just scrapping that one?
I'm happy to do coach of the year. I haven't done it, but I feel like I have an idea of who I would do for coach of the year. But do you want to give me yours first, and then
All right.
let me decide between two of these coaches that I have in mind? It's not 100%.
This one was a bit of a line ball decision as well, to be honest, because again, it's all dependent on the standings and which team finishes quite high up. As you obviously saw last year with Mike Brown, he took a team that hadn't made the playoffs in years to the third seed in the West. So in that case, I'm thinking a similar kind of ascension, even though this team is on the rise and they did well in the play-in last year. Were unlucky not to make the playoffs, but I think if they can, ascend and push up into the top 4 seeds in the West, top 5 even, I think this guy well and truly deserves a lot of the credit and deserves to be coach of the year. And that's Mark Daigneault from the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I think, taking a young up-and-coming team like that, so far they look good. Obviously, they had that blowout loss to the Denver Nuggets, but I think what he's done with that young team, with that young core of Lou Dort, Chet, Josh Giddey, SGA, and then J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and they got a really nice bench as well. I think they can definitely make some noise in the West. They might have their ups and downs at times during this year, but I think he's a really good basketball mind, and again, to be able to take such a young team to a really big improvement last year, which is on the back of obviously a superstar in SGA, but I think a lot of credit needs to also be given to Daigneault there in that situation. So, for that reason, I have him as winning the coach of the year, especially if they can get, like I said, anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th seed in the Western Conference. But the only question marks I have about his coaching now is, playing SGA as the point and playing Josh Giddey off the ball. There's been early struggles with Josh Giddey's game thus far as an off-the-ball player. SGA is a bit more of an off-the-ball creator. He can, create his shots off the dribble, off cuts. I feel like Josh Giddey is a bit limited in that regard, and I think he needs the ball in his hands a bit more to, be more effective in that sense. But I guess it's still early stages. It's been looking good so far. But again, as a whole, to be able to fulfill this team's full potential, I think it's best if Giddey moves to the point and SGA plays the 2 guard. But that's another discussion for another day. But for that reason, I have Mark Daigneault winning coach of the year.
Love the pick. I feel like OKC, the storyline's there for them certainly, because obviously last year they had a pretty good season compared to the year before. They won 20 or so more games, and then this is the year that it's they go out of almost that rebuild mode. Well, even though they're still rebuilding, but they push towards the playoffs. Makes sense, storylines there. My coach of the year, I'm going to go with the route of another storyline which would make sense, which would be the New Orleans Pelicans Willie Green. I feel like Zion being back, you get a healthy CJ McCollum back, you get BI playing, and then obviously the ascension of Dyson Daniels is a bit of a question mark, but if you can get as much as you can out of him defensively, as he's already a great defender, and he can push for a starting role. I don't know, you got Jordan Hawkins also coming in. Like, there's a few changes made to this team, and although they missed the playoffs last year, they gave Phoenix a run for their money like the season prior. So it's like the talent's still there on this team. It's just they need to stay healthy. And I feel like Willie Green, he is a good coach. It's just like he's been really unfortunate with, I guess, injuries and
circumstances,
things of that nature. Yeah. But if the Pelicans are healthy, personally, this is a hot take, and this is like a really hot take, but I have them over teams, like there's no reason why they can't ascend over like the Sacramento Kings or even my Los Angeles Lakers. Like, they're that talented. It's just a matter of fact of like the circumstances and everybody staying healthy. But if that is to happen, I think Willie Green will be a front runner for sure.
And you also forgot that Trey Murphy is set to come back from that torn meniscus, and then even Jose Alvarado, who's obviously a key player off that second unit, providing energy and defensive grit that that team needs. So that's just another, I guess, part of their defensive identity that's missing. And Trey Murphy, an exceptional offensive player, will take a lot of weight and pressure off those main guys in BI, Zion, and CJ to not have to score the ball at that rapid rate that we've seen so far this season. But to be fair, that Willie Green pick was actually the one I was leaning towards first, but I'm like, it's like it's all about whether Zion can stay healthy, which obviously he looks really good. But again, that's like the little asterisk that you need to put next to the Pelicans. He'll win it if they obviously have the full team at their disposal and can get a high enough seed. But like I said, I think Coach of the Year is a bit of that hit and miss one, because it all depends on what happens later in the year and the standings and stuff like that. Like all these awards are, don't get me wrong, but I think specifically Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year more so, yeah.
We'll go Most Improved Player. I think we'll save the two premier awards, which is MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, to last. So I'll let you start off here with Most Improved Player, and I'm very interested to see who you have winning this award, because there's a lot of players who are putting their hand up early on in this season to make a case for that Most Improved award. And the way they vote for this particular award, it can sometimes be a little bit of a interesting voting scheme, because you think like guys who have had like 9-point breakouts compared to the year before, they don't even make the final three candidates. And then you got guys who are so-called stars or borderline superstars in this league, and they're taking out Most Improved Player, which I sometimes don't agree with, because I'm like, you're already proven that you're a star in this league, and then you're still getting the Most Improved Player. It doesn't really make sense to me, but again, that's how the NBA votes for it, and that's fair enough. I'm not going to argue about that, but yeah, I'd love to hear who you have here in this particular slot.
This one's like really tough, because I want to go on the route and go my boy. I want to do Jalen Duren, but I can't, because I don't like giving Most Improved to sophomore year guys. Like, as well as he could play this year, he could be an all-star, but it's just like it's so early in a career. I like to give it to third or fourth year guys. That's just personally my take. I don't love when they give it to sophomores, because we don't know how good they're going to be yet as rookies. But I will go on the route of, it's out of two guys. It's out of one guy. I was thinking Franz or Devin Vassell, but screw that. Get rid of that. It's got to be Cam Thomas. Like, Cam Thomas, what he's been doing, like from, I guess, the first game, it's absolutely mental. The guy said he would average 25 points per game if he wanted to. Right, he's averaging 33 points per game. Like, this guy came off the bench and he's ascended into he's ascended as the Brooklyn Nets' #1 scoring option. Like, in the first game, he played 7 minutes and scored 15 points and just kicked it off from there. Like, you can't bench this guy, because even if his attitude isn't up to an NBA standard or whatever, he's too good to come off the bench, and he's proven it. And I feel like you can't give me a reason why he wouldn't be Most Improved if he continues to play like 30-plus minutes a night. He's just too good. And, yeah, he's shocking me right now with his And like the dude's shot creating and his ability to hit tough shots, it's absolutely crazy.
I can't argue with that, but I do have another option for most improved, and it was none of the two guys that you mentioned outside of Cam Thomas, but I'll just quickly mention about Cam Thomas as well. I know this is a stupid ESPN stat, but they said he's averaging the most points as a starter for the minimum of 7 games. I mean, 7 games, not a massive sample size, but still, he's in really rare company there, which it's a funny stat. ESPN stats, you know how they are. They're cherry picked like crazy. But also, another stat, the first 3 games that Cam Thomas played in last year, he was averaging 0.7 points per game. To come to the first 3 games of this year and average 33 and be, top 3 or 4 in scoring in the league is absolutely absurd. And what other thing really blew my mind last year was he had those 3 straight 40-point games, and then he barely saw the court after that. Like, again, you mentioned the attitude problems. You mentioned maybe, limited in playmaking, or sometimes, he's a one-dimensional kind of player in terms of he's purely a shot creator and a scorer, and he might not be the best defender, or a team sort of player, but I don't really care about that when you can be so potent on offense and you've already got good defenders in Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton and Ben Simmons. That can hide Cam Thomas's deficiencies. You don't need everyone to be a great defender. You don't need everyone necessarily to be a great scorer. You need to find guys that are good in their role. Like Michael Porter Jr., he cops a lot of shit and a lot of flack for always taking that first shot when it does come into his hands, but that's his role. Like, he doesn't need to be a facilitator. Jokic is that role. Jamal Murray, again, second scoring and playmaking option. Aaron Gordon is that energy guy who can catch lobs, who can defend. Like, everyone has a role in that team. And I think Cam Thomas is too good of a scoring option to just be sat on the bench penalized for maybe not being the best in a certain area. But I think he's improved his attitude, and it looks like he's got a point to prove this year, and I really like that pick. But for my most improved player, I'm going for a guy, and I'm basing this up. I would have maybe picked this regardless of the situation, but I think now it's even more, likely that this could happen, and that's Tyrese Maxey from the Philadelphia 76ers. Started the year like a house on fire, averaging 30 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 56% from 3, or might even be more than that. He's shooting 50% from the field as well. Initially I was probably questioning this pick because I thought, James Harden, if he comes back, how's that going to look? Might stagnate Tyrese Maxey's development again. But now we've obviously heard the news. James Harden been traded to the Clippers. Absolute shock move. It wasn't really a shock because it was talked about quite a bit in the offseason. But now that Harden's gone, he can be the clear second option and that second star, co-star to Joel Embiid. And really, I think that match there between Embiid and Maxey is a perfect fit for me. You got a guy in Embiid who can do everything, score from all 3 levels, from the 3. He's an interior presence, he can defend. And then you got Maxey, who likes to play more in transition. I think that complements one another. I think Harden and Embiid were both really like slow ISO sort of players, and it probably didn't work in their favor. Whereas Maxey, he loves to push the tempo, he loves to get out on the break, he can comfortably create his shot off the dribble, shoot from the mid range, floaters, 3-point shootings improved tremendously since his rookie season. So I think if he can continue to do that and continue to show what he's shown in the first 3 games, there's no reason that if he can't maintain that level of consistency, not only will he be an all-star this year, but he can win most improved player. And who knows, depending on what Philadelphia does this year and how, while they do play and where they position themselves in the Eastern Conference, he could see himself as a potential All-NBA player this year. But that, with how many good guards there are this season and with the way the All-NBA teams have changed now, with it being 5 best players in each team rather than it being 5 best positional players, that might make it tougher because it's just completely stacked. But then again, never say never, but I think at the worst case, Tyrese Maxey can be the most improved player this year, and so far he's shown that he's well and truly ready for a breakout season.
Yeah, no, just a name that completely went over my head, to be honest, but yeah, that's a really good pick.
I mean, like I said, you can't go wrong with Cam Thomas or Tyrese, but I just thought, let's mix it up a little bit. Yeah. Well, just so far from watching this guy play, I've kept a close eye on it because, they are one of the bigger teams in the NBA. And I just thought, he does look excellent thus far. and he looks like he's ready for that big year, and constantly being, I guess, criticised by the media, by people on TV in the sports world, constantly bashing this guy and saying he's got so much potential, but he never lives up to it because he's constantly on the sidelines. And I think you sort of know who I'm going to go down, what path I'm going to go down with this pick. But I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. I think
Oh,
he
not who I
looked.
thought.
Oh, really? Glad I
No, I
surprised you
thought
there.
KP.
Nah. I'm going at AD. I've watched all three Lakers games thus far, and again, although they did lose that game to the Kings the other night, and they did lose to the Nuggets in the first game, and they are only 1 win and 2 losses so far to start the season. I think every time the ball goes inside the paint when Anthony Davis is there, he affects so many shots. A lot of guys are actually scared to put up a shot over AD. He's looked really spry. He looks really super comfortable in his body again. I feel like he's got that confidence back in it that he's probably lacked the last few years. Again, only early stages, could completely change, but I feel like his ability to contest shots, he's got that large wingspan. He blocks shots. He makes shots a lot tougher for guys coming into the lane, and not only that, but it's just like I said, when he's up and running, I feel like that team defense works a lot better. But I think he's got the potential to average, a couple of steals and 2.5 blocks a game this year, and also, like I said, be the anchor for that defense, which will help the Lakers obviously make a playoff push and put them into a better position. They always seem to start slow with the seasons that have just previously gone by, but they always seem to finish really strong. So, that's the reason why I'm picking AD. I think with a full healthy season, touch wood, he is arguably the best defender in the league, and I think he impacts the game on that defensive side of the ball as good as anyone does. So for that reason, I'm picking Anthony Davis. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how many games he does end up playing this year. But, yeah, he's my pick for DPOY this season.
I would love it if he won, if he could stay healthy. I mean, Lakers at any chance to beat any team in the playoffs. And Defensive Player of the Year, AD, that would be a dream. But for my Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go in the route of... I feel like Evan Mobley. I feel like that's a bit of a roughie, but like I feel like he's so valuable to the Cleveland Cavaliers front court. I know Jared Allen is there, but it's like I don't know. I see the potential in this guy to be a multiple Defensive Player of the Year player, and I feel like it's good. It has to be it has to be AD. It has to be Claxton, Jaren Jackson, or to me probably Evan Mobley. So this one, I don't know. I feel like with Evan, they're just so much better. He can guard positions like two shooting guard through center. He can play in the perimeter, protect the rim. He's a really scary sight to behold. So it's like, hey, if he could average like close to 3 blocks per game, maybe a steal and a half, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are like ascend to a top 4 seed, there's no reason for me why Evan Mobley couldn't be a Defensive Player of the Year.
I respect the pick because I think he was one of the top 3 candidates for Defensive Player of the Year last year. He sort of came out of nowhere, was an All-NBA defensive first-team player last year. So, again, I think the pick is valid. And, yeah, it's more likely that Evan Mobley does win it only because he is a bit more durable and he does play more games year in, year out, albeit that he's been in the league a lot less than AD. But historically with AD and, notoriously known to be missing a lot of time year in, year out, that might be the only thing that costs AD, but I think he looks really driven, he looks motivated, so that's why I picked him. But there's no reason why any of those guys you mentioned, Jaren Jackson, Evan Mobley, that they can't win it this coming season. AD, any of those big men. Moving on to the MVP, the most prestigious award, and the one award that, I feel like a lot of people try to predict way too early. And you saw it with ESPN last year. They changed their narrative 7 billion times. They went from Tatum to Luka. Luka fell out of the race. Then it went to Embiid. Then it went to Jokic. Then Jokic struggled against Embiid. Then it went back to Embiid. And then people were like, well, no, Jokic did deserve it after his playoff performance. So even JJ Redick made a point about this on his podcast and said, like, we need to stop predicting MVPs and stop talking about it, like, before the halfway mark of the year, because it's one of those awards that can constantly change. And the media narrative is the crazy thing that drives this award. So it's probably the toughest award to vote on because it's a lot of the time what the media wants to see rather than who's actually the best player. But again, we still have to predict it because we are doing our awards predictions here. So none other than my boy, to win the MVP in the 2023-24 season, it's Luka Doncic. And again, you might come at me and say, well, you're a Luka stan. That's the reason why you're voting for Luka. No, I feel like he's maybe deserved a couple of MVPs in the previous couple of seasons, but he hasn't come back in the best shape. He's still put up tremendous numbers. He's played incredibly well. But I feel like this year he's got a point to prove. I feel like a lot of people were on his case, and, you know, with the whole thing of missing the playoffs last year, that relationship with Kyrie Irving, is it going to work out? He's come back with a vengeance. He's had a tremendous World Cup campaign. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life. He looks committed on defense. Mentally, he looks like he's a lot clearer. He's not getting as agitated about calls, although it is only 3 games into the season. They're 3-0 for the first time since, I think, Dirk Nowitzki was about 26 years of age, back when they had Sean Bradley, Eric Dampier. That's gone a long, long time back into the past. So the fact that the Mavericks have started the season like that, and, you know, Luka's been on an absolute tear. He had a 33-point triple-double and willed the Mavs back against the Spurs in Wemby's debut. He had that incredible showing, 49, 10, and 7, where he reeled off the last 13 points of the game against the Brooklyn Nets and hit that miraculous bank shot, which was unbelievable. I was on the phone to you and I was watching the game, and I remember how I reacted. I was screaming. I was like, this was absurd. Like, and the thing is, you look at that and people say it's a fluke, but I think he actually genuinely practices those shots. The amount of times the Mavs post him doing trick shots, they're absolutely absurd. I'm like, this guy knows how to pull these shots off. It's not just flukish. It's, you know, sometimes luck comes with obviously hard work and practice. So you have to be lucky sometimes. And again, he did it efficiently. He didn't just chuck up those shots. He shot like 60-something% from the field, 50% from the 3. And then this last game, again, against the Grizzlies, another 35-point triple-double. He's averaging 39, 11, and 9, nearly a triple-double to start the season, nearly a 40-point triple-double through the first 3 games of the season. Not taking anything away from Steph and how well he's played, and, you know, a couple other guys who you could name as the current MVP candidates. But Luka just looks like on a different level this year. He looks locked in, and I think the only thing stopping him winning the MVP is himself this season, and potentially how that Kyrie Irving relationship does play out as the season progresses. But so far, he looks the goods, and for that reason, he is my 2023-24 MVP.
Love the pick. Can't go wrong. Feel like you mentioned, he's been on an absolute tear. He's averaging, like, I know it's 3 games, and like you mentioned, that 3-0, that's a crazy stat. Like, since you said Eric Dampier, like, Shaq's like dropping that guy in diss tracks. Like, that's how far back it goes back. Absolutely insane. But 39, 12, and 10. Like, we got so much hate off that top 10 point guard list, which is for a separate video. The Curry versus Luka debate. It's just like, honestly, it's a bit of a joke, like how so many people are kind of against Luka and like him being the best point guard in the league. But that's for a separate video. But once again,
I was just going to say,
generational talent.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I feel like we're so accustomed to seeing performances like this that the moment he drops a 30-point triple-double, it's like, oh, that's just what Luka does. It's like, oh, nothing special. But, like, you know how hard 30-point triple-doubles are to come by?
Yeah,
let alone getting 30 points in an NBA game, let alone getting...
An efficient 30, not like
Exactly.
shooting like 9 for 24. This is like 57% from the field.
Exactly.
Like 37 or 40% from 3. Like, not... Obviously, he's got to turn it over. But, like, when you're making plays and you're getting 12 assists and you have three turnovers or 4 turnovers, so beat it. Like, the guy, he's a winner. I know he hasn't won a championship, but if you're using that argument against him, he's 24 years of age. He's a 4-time All-NBA first-team player. Like, seriously, what more could you want out of someone who's 24? Like, you can't expect him to be like a 3-time champ and already have his accolades over Curry or any of these guys. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
That's what I mean. Steph's been in the league since '09. Luka has been in the league since 2018. Like there's 9 years difference there from when Luka got into his rookie season to when Steph got into the league. Like of course Steph is going to have achieved more things, but again we'll save it for the other video.
So my one, this is a massive smoky. Like I expect to get a bit of hate from this one. Like I don't even know if I fully think this is going to happen. I just really want it to happen. I feel like it's not out of the realms of possibilities. Look, I look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, going with the route of Nasri. No, I'm joking. Not Nasri, but I'm going in the route of Anthony Edwards. I feel like Cat being a floor guy, now's the time. It's either, you accept your role, you're the second option, or it's like you're not really rebounding, but you're shooting from the perimeter. I feel like he could easily find a new home, whether that be, for example, at the New York Knicks or anywhere else. But Anthony Edwards is the guy who, if the Minnesota Timberwolves really are going to be contenders in the West and make the playoffs and be like a top 6 seed, I feel like Anthony Edwards needs to average like 32, 34 points per game. He's already shown us that he's an all-NBA defender like for this past season. So sharpen the tools that he already has. If he continues to shoot the ball well, scores upwards to 30 plus, rebounds well, and is an all-NBA defender, there's no reason why I don't think he could be in the conversation. So I'm going to put him as my MVP. But I don't fully think it will happen, and I think you will be probably spot on with the Luka MVP call.
Yeah, early on I've watched Ant. To me, he doesn't look as assertive. I feel like he obviously had a good game today. He dropped, I think it was like 18 points in the first quarter or whatever it was. And, they looked really comfortable early on against the Hawks. Then DeJounte Murray went on that tear today. But I feel like the game I watched, even the one previously to this, who do they play? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami, sorry, that's who it was.
Heat.
Yeah, so every time it looked like he had an open lane to, use his athleticism, his size, and his, freakishly gifted athleticism and ability to, finish at the rim. He settled a lot for, that extra pass that probably wasn't needed. He had an open three-pointer, he didn't take it. He had an open man, not open man, he had an open lane from heavy closeout by, the Miami Heat defenders, and, he just didn't attack it. I don't know if he's carrying some sort of injury, but to me, he doesn't look as assertive. It looks like he's playing like a facilitator role, which I don't really like. I feel like Ant, as that shot creator and giving him the license to be able to, create shots from all three levels, whether it's in the paint, from the mid-range, or from the three-point line, that's where he needs to be. And I don't know, I would love to see him just be a tad more aggressive and show that he's the clear-cut number one option. Because right now in these first 3 games that I've seen from the T-Wolves, it doesn't look like he's being as aggressive as he was last season. But again, it's still early stages, and maybe he's just getting a feel for how this team is, and maybe Chris Finch has given him the role of playing point guard, which I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But
he's had 7 assists, 2 straight games, which obviously that's a massive leap for Anthony Edwards. But yeah, I'm spot on. I prefer them all when Anthony Edwards if Anthony Edwards coming at you in transition or in a half court offense. It's the closest thing to me to LeBron. He's an absolute tank. He's fast. He's athletic. That version of Anthony Edwards where he's just attacking the rim, getting any shot that he wants, even if it's a hand in the face. That is that's the Anthony Edwards I want to see. But obviously we haven't fully seen it. But he's still averaging 25, 7, 5. Not the worst, but yes, you're right. Certainly not MVP caliber just yet, but hopefully he turns that around.
I do like the fact that he's turned a corner on the playmaking. I think we had one comment on that top 10 shooting guard list where we obviously put Ant as the number 1 shooting guard in the league, saying that he's nowhere near the playmaker of a guy like SJ or a Booker, but I think he's definitely turned the corner, and I think he's trying to prove people wrong that he can be an all-round player, not just a pure scorer. But like I said, I guess we'll see how things play out as the season progresses. Does Chris Finch stay there, or is he going to be there by the season's end? That's something to obviously discuss as well, because they're looking like Minnesota fans are calling for his head in the comments section of the post that they put out today. So that's going to be an
Real
interesting thing.
sports.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll see how things play out. But yeah, not a bad shout, but I guess it is pretty bold in that sense. But I can definitely see it happening as the season progresses. He can definitely, take that leap, and you can never call the MVP too early because a lot of things do change. But thus far, I think my pick's justified, and I guess yours is to an extent as well. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with our awards predictions anyway. So I think we did a good job there. So for the scoring leader, obviously, being that I've listed him as the MVP choice, I've got Luka Doncic for obvious reasons, like I mentioned. For my rebounds leader, I have DeAndre Ayton. I think obviously saw today he had 23 rebounds. He looks like he's going to get a lot of chances to rebound the ball with a lot of the misses that Blazers players are putting up. So I think he's proven to be a strong rebounder in the past, and I think, again, no reason why he can't lead the league. Assists, Tyrese Halliburton. The amount of times the ball is in his hand and with how willing he is distributing it out to the guys on his team. He's had 13 assists today. He's averaged 12 through the first 3 games. I think that's going to continue, and yeah, I can see him well and truly averaging 12 or 13 assists this season and winning the assist title. For blocks, I have Chet Holmgren. That's a bit of a smoky. Had 7 blocks, an OKC rookie record the other day. I feel like he might have games where he doesn't block shots, but then he might come out and block 5, 6, and that'll obviously push him up in the and boost up his stats for that particular category. And for steals, I have none other than Derek White. I feel like, with how solid of a backcourt defender he is, and he seems like he's a pest in the passing lanes. He's had a number of steals thus far. He's averaging like 1.7, obviously not close to the top spot, but I feel like the other guys will fizzle out a bit, and I feel like Derek White will maintain that consistency, and yeah, for that reason I have him as winning the steals category. But Marcus, love to hear your one now, and I'm interested to see who you've got.
So, yeah, I'll kick it off with steals. This one, I don't know how possible this is, but, not really knowing what Victor Wembanyama's steals statistics are, but watching, the Spurs, I guess, a little bit closely, seeing the amount of opportunity he has guarding the perimeter and, double team situations, I feel like he could honestly average, 2.5 steals. If he really, really puts the effort in, there's no reason why he wouldn't. So I put him for my steals leader. We have the same block leader. I put Chet as well. We have the same assist leader. I put Tyrese Halliburton also. Rebounds, I went with my boy, Jalen Duran. He's averaging 13.3 rebounds per game. Tearing it up. On the topic with him, 2 blocks per game as well. Looking like the second coming of Dwight Howard.
Baby Dwight.
And then, baby Dwight, absolutely. And then scoring title, I went with my MVP also. Probably the main reason I went with him for MVP, because I had him as scoring title as well. So Anthony Edwards will be my scoring title.
All valid picks. I feel like they're very reasonable, and all of those, bar maybe the Chet Holmgren one. I think that one, yeah, that's probably the smoky, but I feel like it's very reasonable because we saw how potent he was in that game where he had the 7 blocks, and he looks like he's not afraid to contest any shot that comes his way, and he's not afraid to get a foul call against his name or get posterized, because I feel like he's much more willing to send a shot away than get posterized. So yeah, all very valid, all very reasonable. I feel like all our awards predictions were fair and reasonable and justified. So we'll I guess go through our individual awards again, just so that we can do a final wrap up of this. So I had MVP Luka Doncic, Most Improved Tyrese Maxey, Defensive Player of the Year Anthony Davis, Sixth Man of the Year Emmanuel Quickley, Rookie of the Year Brandon Miller, and for my Coach of the Year I had Mark Daigneault.
Okay, so for my MVP, Anthony Edwards, Defensive Player of the Year, I had Evan Mobley, Rookie of the Year Azar Thompson, Sixth Man of the Year Cole Anthony, Most Improved Cam Thomas, and then Coach of the Year I had none other than Willie Green. So I feel like we both had pretty justified lists. I feel like any of these guys are pretty likely. But keen to have, what am I saying? Keen to hear what you guys have for each of these predictions. If you didn't make it this far in the video, comment down below what they are. because we'd love to hear it. We love interacting with you guys. One of, the most fulfilling things you could ever wish for is seeing a comment. Like, it's just something simple. It absolutely makes your day, makes both of our days. So, yeah, make sure you guys get on it. Start commenting because, yeah, it just means the absolute world, and why not? Why not do it?
And yeah, if you are going to come at us for any particular reason, for whatever, prediction we have made here, and you're not happy with a particular player, come at us with an analytical comment back, or give us some...
Justify it,
Yeah, justify why you're making that comment and why you disagree with us. Don't just come at us because one of your favourite players was left off this list and you're just, salty at us, and you'll start telling us that, we suck, we don't know basketball. Like, we're happy to justify it, and we're happy to come, have a reasonable conversation about it if you guys are analytical about things and actually provide valid reasoning behind the comment you're making. But we do love the interaction nonetheless. Like, we're not saying stop the interaction, but just come at us with a bit of evidence,
Yeah, logical, We may as well change the channel name to Logical Basketball if we're going to get in our jokes. But, it does help a lot to, kind of respond when it is a logical response and there is reasoning for both parties, not just like, oh, Steph, how's he not number one? You guys suck, you don't know, like, this and that. Like, obviously not everybody agrees with you. If you do, have such a, topic like that you do wholeheartedly believe in, hey, don't get mad at us. Like, start your own podcast and talk about why you think Stephen Curry is the greatest player of all time. You know what I mean?
100%. Couldn't agree more, Marcus. But on that note, this has been your boy Danko from the Bench Mob. If you haven't already done so, make sure to hit subscribe. We're 92 subs away from 1,000. We're nearly on our way to our first goal, and we're going to be doing a jersey giveaway as soon as we hit 1,000 subs. So be in it to win it, guys. We're nearly there. We've appreciated your support from day one since we started this channel back in March. So the continued support is much appreciated. And yeah, that's all I've got to say on my end.
Thank you guys for watching. It's been Marcus. Appreciate it. Take care, guys. Leave interaction, comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. But for now, we out.
See you guys. Peace.
Bang.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of Bench Mob in collaboration with the NBA Store. When Bench Mob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber. So just do all the things listed on the screen. God damn it.